In the early 19th century, the village of Ars in France was spiritually barren. The villagers were indifferent to their faith, and the church was nearly empty. But everything changed when Father John Vianney arrived in 1818. His story shows us how one man's love for the Eucharist can transform lives and communities. St. John Vianney was born on May 8, 1786 in a small village in France. He grew up in a simple peasant family during a time when the French Revolution was causing great turmoil. Despite limited education due to the political climate and his family's poverty, young John showed a remarkable devotion to his faith from an early age. John's path to priesthood was challenging due to his struggles with academics, especially Latin. Many doubted he could succeed, but his perseverance and humility were unwavering. With the determination and the help of a mentor, he was finally ordained in 1815, demonstrating his resilience and commitment to his calling. Father John Vianney was a humble priest with an extraordinary love for the Eucharist. He knew that to change the village, he needed to bring his parishioners close to Christ through the Eucharist. He believed that the Eucharist was the heart of the church and spent hours in prayer before the Blessed Sacrament. His devotion was so profound that it drew the curiosity of the villagers. One day, a curious farmer approached him after seeing him spend hours in front of the altar. "Father," the farmer asked, "what do you do all day sitting there so quietly?" Father Vianney smiled gently and replied, "I look at him and he looks at me." People noticed how Father Vianney lived his life centered around the Eucharist, and his devotion began to inspire them. As Father Vianney's love for the Eucharist spread, the once empty church began to fill. Villagers who had long neglected their faith started attending Mass regularly. The taverns grew quieter as hearts were drawn to the church, and Ars experienced a spiritual revival. Father Vianney was also renowned for his compassionate guidance in the confessional. He spent up to 18 hours a day hearing confessions, helping people reconcile with God and prepare to receive the Eucharist worthily. Pilgrims from distant towns flocked to Ars, seeking his counsel and the healing power of the sacrament. Through his devotion to the Eucharist and tireless dedication, Father John Vianney transformed Ars into a vibrant community of faith. By the time of his death in 1859, the village had become a beacon of spiritual renewal. Canonized in 1925, St. John Vianney is now the patron saint of parish priests. St. John Vianney's legacy continues to inspire us to deepen our relationship with the Eucharist and lead lives centered around faith and love.